If you want to conquer the anxiety of life, live in the moment, live in the breath. Amit Ray. Looking at the beauty in the world is the first step of purifying the mind. Amit Ray. Do every act of your life as though it were your very last act of your life. Marcus Aurelius. Welcome back, everybody, to the Insightful Podcast. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Today is episode 20, and the topic of conversation is the importance of being present. Life can get so noisy sometimes, and because of that, we forget the beauty of feeling alive. Before we get into this discussion, remember to like the video and comment on any topics you'd like to see discussed on the Insightful Podcast in the future. Also, remember to subscribe so that you don't miss an upload of the podcast. We have many guests coming very shortly onto the Insightful Podcast, so stay tuned. Without further ado, let's get into talking about how important it is to be present. So let's start with, why am I talking about this? Well, the fact of the matter is, recently I've been catching myself not being present, even in moments where I should be present. You know, a lot of times we may go out with friends, spend time with family, whatever the case may be, and you're not actually there. You don't feel that you're actually there spending quality time with those people because your mind is always somewhere else. And this was happening to me a lot recently. And this is why I want to speak about it today, because it's very important. Because when you don't focus on your life in the current moment and you're too busy focusing on the future or the past or anxieties, anything that could be potentially happening in your life, you miss the current moment you're in. A whole week can go by and you realize, where did that week even go? I think that comes from us not being present and us not appreciating the moments that we do have, right? For example, I I'm someone that has started doing email marketing, and I've been doing it for maybe a couple months now. And recently, I started putting a lot more focus into it, and I got a win with it. I landed a call with a potential client, and it's someone that I really want to work with because I love their brand. I love what they stand for, and it's someone that I'd love to be working with and helping. And it's crazy because the first day when I got the email that I was going to be able to hop on a call with their team, I was ecstatic. I was so happy. It was probably one of the happiest days I've had in a very long time. But guess what? That didn't last. It was only that day where I got that email where I felt like that. And then back to the next day, the day after that, I felt as if that wasn't as amazing as it was. You know, I was unable to feel that happiness and feel that joy, that all that work I was putting in for the months learning and applying and outreaching to people, it finally worked. And because I was unable to stay present because I was too focused on, the next podcast guest, my Instagram account, is it growing or not, personal matters. Because of that, I was unable to appreciate what I achieved. The appreciation for it only lasted so little. And it made me realize, Anthony, what's wrong with you? You've been wanting this for so long. You've been wanting to, potentially start working with someone with email marketing for quite some time. And because you didn't allow yourself to be present, you're almost not even appreciating what has come to your life. And it's just sad to think about because, there's some times where we want to achieve something so bad that when we achieve it, we don't even feel like it matters that much because we weren't even present in the fact that, hey, all this work you've been putting in for so long, it finally happened. Aren't you grateful? Aren't you thankful that you put in all those hours and it finally worked? But you're so unpresent, you're so not present, I guess is the word, in that moment, that you forget about those feelings. And the problem is that when we're not present, we're not passionate about life. And we have to remember that we only have one life to live. So we need to be passionate every single day, because to be alive is a blessing of its own. To keep going forward, to keep moving forward, even in hard times, is a blessing. We have the opportunity to be alive in the first place. So that's a huge thing that made me realize, why am I not staying present? Why am I getting so distracted and never focusing on what I'm currently doing? It was something very bad that I guess I had an epiphany about, because what happens is years, months, weeks, whatever you want to say, could go by, and if you're not present, you're not even enjoying life. You're just going through the motion. And this is not a good way to live a fulfilling life, you know? So, something I learned about presence in itself is, remember how you were younger and you always felt like every moment was the best moment of your life? If it was playing soccer at recess with the boys, scoring an absolute screamer, that would stay on your mind. You would be so happy and joyful. Even if it was like hearing that gym class, for example, you were playing dodgeball, and you were so happy because you love dodgeball, right? The reason why we're able to stay so present as kids is because we were never thinking about the future or the past. It was a blessing in itself that, like, all we cared about was the current moment. It was hanging out with your friends, it was going to that family member's house, it was getting that new video game and playing it with your brother. That's what made you happy. And you were so present in the moment that you could go to school, do a test, but then once the test was completed, you didn't care anymore. You're like, oh, it's over. Okay, let me go play soccer. Let me go play soccer with the lads. That's kind of how it was. And I think that's the difference, at least from my realization of happiness from like a youthful age to the age we are now, is a lack of presence, a lack of enjoyment, because even in the hard times when you were younger, at least for myself, I was present even in those bad times. And then that gave me so much more gratitude when those times were over, and to be in the good times. You know, I remember, for example, watching the Euro soccer in elementary school, and it was the best thing ever. You used to watch it in class with all your friends, the teachers, and now the Euros are on, and there's less of an enjoyment with it. Because I'm not even appreciating the time that it's going on. Because I got so many other things on my mind. And it's just crazy to me that, like, that was another kind of epiphany I had, was that at a youthful age we're so present in the current moment that we actually enjoy life way more. Yes, you could make the argument that you have less worries, there's less pressure on you as a child and stuff, but also a big part of it was how present and mindful we were of our current situation, right? Because you were happy and joyful to be experiencing what you're experiencing. If it was a field trip, if it was, like I said, playing a new video game, if it was seeing an old friend again, that's all you cared about. You were never at a hangout or playing a sport with your friend and thinking about what you were going to do when you got home. No matter if it was something bad, something that was unenjoyable for yourself, or if it was something good, you were just focused on the current moment. That was my experience from a young age. Is like, no matter what, I was always so focused on what was currently happening. I never thought about anything else. And this is quite sad because, like, even now, there might be times I see friends that I don't see too often. And even in those situations, I am not present with them. I'm thinking about, the next thing I have to do, or something I did, or if this is going to work out, if that's going to happen, you know? And what kind of life is this? You're never really truly there. You're never really there with the people that you want to be with, because your mind is always racing. Your mind is always on something else. So we need to take this into consideration. At least for me, I think it's a very valuable conversation that we need to have, is being able to be present, right? And like I was saying about when it comes to friendships, not being present is ruining your relationships, right? When you are spending time with family or your friends, you were never really truly there with them because of your lack of presence, right? How many times is, your mom speaking to you? I'm guilty of this, and you're scrolling on your phone, or you're at a hangout with the boys and you're on your phone, messaging people, or scrolling and stuff. There's a time and a place to do it, but we don't realize how limited amount of time we have with these people. You know what I'm saying? For example, myself, a lot of my friends and people around me go to university. So during the university year, it's very hard to see them. It's very hard to make time for them to see me and me to see them because they're in different cities. They're studying, they got important exams coming up, all these different types of things, right? So a big thing I'm trying to do is when I do see those friends to be on my phone the least amount of time because, in a couple months again, I'm not going to see them for a while, or maybe be 2 to 3 months in between when I see them. And it's very sad because we don't appreciate this stuff until it's gone. You know what I mean? It's, you're so excited for that friend to come home from school so you could hang out with them again, chill with them again. And once they leave, you realize, damn, I wish I was more present when I was with them. I wish I would have done more when I was with them. Right? And then they come back and you appreciate it. But then once you see them so much, you go back into this cycle again of not being present when you're with them. This is something we need to stay conscious of all the time, is how present I am in this current moment. Am I actually here? Am I actually listening to them? Or am I thinking about something else? You need to ask yourself these questions. The scariest part is, everybody, life will keep passing at a faster rate, and before you know it, time would have gone by so fast that you would have wondered where it all went. How many times do you look back on your month and you ask yourself, where did June go? We're at the end of June already. What have I done? What have I accomplished? What experiences did I make? How many times do you do something or speak to someone and forget? You forgot the conversation. You forgot what you did. Oh yeah, I remember we did that. Where do you think this all comes from? This comes from a lack of presence, a lack of mindfulness when you're with those people or when you are doing those experiences. For example, if I don't catch myself being mindful or being present when I need to be, I'll after this podcast, I'll totally forget everything I said, you know? And I'll question myself, "Oh, did I make good points? Did I say the things I wanted to say? Was I yapping too much?" You know what I'm saying? This all comes from a lack of presence. And before you know it, all that time would have been gone. Half the year is done. Half the year is already done. What did you want to do this year? What did you want to achieve? You had all these goals, you had all these ideas that you wanted to execute. But have you done any of them? I truly believe that presence and mindfulness is one of the most important skills we could have, especially in this generation where we're distracted so often. It's something that we need to work on. Because, for example, I'm 20 now. If I don't begin to have mindfulness in my day to day activities or be present with the people I care about, before you know it, they could be gone out of my life. And I would have regretted not being mentally there when I was with them for the time I had them, you know? And this is a problem, right? Because, like I said earlier, it will be a big regret of ours. It'll be a regret that you weren't there with them. What if that one friend moves countries, moves schools, or goes far away from you, and that whole time where you were with them, you were just on your phone, or you were thinking about the conversation you had to have with that one friend, you know, thinking about some conflict you had earlier in the day. This is not worth it. And the biggest thing for me is I remember growing up and starting to work out. I loved it. It was amazing. The feeling I would get, the happiness, the just the fulfillment I would get from working out on a daily basis just made me feel so blissful. But recently, since I've had a lack of presence, the workouts haven't been the same and nothing's changed. Same gym, same time of day, same workouts, you know. And all that's changed is my lack of presence. While I'm in the gym, I'm thinking about other things. I'm stressing about certain things that don't even matter in that moment. What you need to ask yourself is the things you're thinking about or worrying about or regretting about, whatever it might be, you in that current moment, are you able to change it? Because if you're not able to change it, stop thinking about it. Start being present. You know, if you're chilling with your friends and you have some issue at home that you need to deal with when you get home, you'll deal with it when you're at home. Don't allow the hangout with your friends to go dull in your own mind because you got some situation that you have to deal with afterwards, you know? Because people could see it too. People could see when you're not present with them. They could see it because you're not engaging. It looks like you're uninterested in what's currently going on, you know? And let's ask ourselves, who wants to be around a person like that? I am the first one to say I was really bad at this when I was younger. Maybe even a couple months ago, a year ago. I was really bad at being with my friends, being with the people I care about, but always thinking about something else. And they could see it, you know? I wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be making eye contact because I'd be thinking about something else. And these are just moments that you can't have back. You know, time is valuable. Time is the most valuable asset because, you know, it's June 24th. Let's say 3:01. This minute will never happen again, you know? This minute will never happen again. So we need to treat it as a precious thing because that's exactly what it is, right? So, how do we start to fix this before it's too late? What are the practices that we could start doing that will allow us to be more present and mindful in the situations that we want to be? So, the first one, which most people know, start meditating. I can't stress this enough. My presence and my mindfulness is completely different once I'm consistently meditating than when I'm not, right? Because there's so many stresses in life, there's so many things going on a day-to-day basis, there's so many things that you need to do. You know, you have responsibilities every single day that you have to fall through for your family, for your friends, you know. But you never give yourself time just to detach from everything in your life. And this is what meditation does. You sit there, you just focus on your breath, you focus on the present moment, and you wouldn't believe just doing this at least 10 minutes a day what it can do for your mind. It's a form of training in itself, right? Because how many times are you thinking about something that you want to think about specifically, but then your mind goes somewhere else? All of what meditation is just bringing back your attention to that one focus. In that case, the breath, right? And you'll be able to do this in other areas of your life. Like I said, let's say you're hanging out with your friends and you're trying to focus in on the conversation that is going on amongst the group, but then your mind races somewhere else. You bring it back the attention. And the more you meditate, the more you focus on your breath, the more reps you get in, it'll be much easier to do this in those practical situations. So you need to start meditating. And the simplest way is just to sit there with your eyes closed. Focus on your breath, your inhale and your exhale. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it. I would say start with 5 minutes first and then progressively overload the minutes that you do on a day to day basis. You know, there's times I'll say, like, I've meditated for 30, 40 minutes and my mind feels healthy. I can't explain it. It like just feels amazing after those 30, 40 minutes because I gave myself time away from conversations with others, from stresses, from the screen, whatever the case may be. I just gave my mind a break, which it most desperately needs on a day to day basis. So start meditating, everyone. Next thing, give time away from hyper stimulating activities, right? I've talked about this many times on the podcast. You need to put the phone down sometimes. You need to close the computer sometimes, get off the game. No one's saying you can't do this at all. But what I'm trying to say is that if you're in, doing your work or doing some activities and your mind's always fixated on these hyper stimulations, you scrolling on your phone, you playing video games, you watching YouTube, adding to it. You need to give yourself a break from these things. So, what is the best practical method, in my opinion? And this is the best thing that works for me is the first hour when you wake up, don't go on your phone. And the last hour of the day, don't go on your phone. It gives your mind that mental break from all those hyper stimulating activities and it gives it some rest, because think about it, guys. We're constantly processing information all day. And even if we're just scrolling, our brain is processing what we're viewing and making our own judgments on it and stuff. Sometimes you just need to exit yourself from that situation from time to time. And dropping these hyperstimulating activities for a certain duration every single day is only going to benefit you. So think, how can I start implementing this? I would say what I said earlier is the best. If it's shutting off your phone, not going on it for the last hour and the first hour of the day, and that's about it. See how this will make a difference in your presence on a day-to-day basis. Next thing you guys could do is reflect on how present you were at the end of the day and point out the moments that you weren't and ask yourself, how can you fix this? So it's just a little bit of a reflection task. Think about, when I was having this conversation with my brother, was I present in the conversation or was I thinking about something else? Why was I thinking about something else? Because at the end of the day, maybe you didn't give yourself time for that thing you were thinking about, and that's why you weren't present in that conversation. So maybe your plan of action is giving that thing more attention when you're not around others, right? Let's say it's your diet and you're thinking about, oh man, I'm not getting my calories in, or I ate too much today or whatever. All you got to do is change that and you won't have those thoughts when you're in the moments that you want to be present, right? So what I'm basically trying to say is if you're consistent with your diet, you won't have to think about your diet. If you're consistent with tasks you needed to do, you won't think about it. It's like if I outreach for the podcast. If I outreach for the podcast early in the day when I have the time, it's quick. Once I do that, I don't have to think about it the rest of the day. So when I do go chill with my friends or I do go spend time with my family, I won't be thinking about it. If you want to play the video game with those friends, get the work done. So when you go play the video game, you don't feel bad about it. That's a big thing too, that it just hit me. I'd even have this written down, is feeling bad about things. The most times where I feel the least present is when I feel bad about myself. And it's because I didn't give the attention needed to in those tasks that I needed to do. And I start thinking about it when I'm supposed to be having fun and experiencing life with the people I want to be doing it with. So you need to give attention to those things so you don't think about it in those important moments. You got to block off your day specifically so that everything gets done. So that when you do have those moments with those people, or you do have those moments where, hey, I want to go for a walk and I don't want to think about anything, I just want to enjoy the weather, you're able to do those things because those other activities, other tasks won't be on your mind. All right, guys, I'm going to close it out here. Perfection of character is this: to live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense. Marcus Aurelius. This is amazing because you will never have a perfection of character in the sense of what society may want us to be, or in the sense of how someone else wants you to be. But if you're able to live every single moment present and not thinking about the next moment, not thinking about the past moment and what you did and what you're going to do, this is where you will feel the most fulfilled. It's an amazing quote. I hope you guys see the value in being present. We need to start being more appreciative of the moments of our life, and we have to stop taking them for granted. When you eat, focus on eating. When you are with family and friends, focus on them only. When you are working, focus at the task at hand. This is the true meaning of living life to the fullest. I hope you guys enjoyed this installment of the insightful podcast, and it would mean a lot if you could go give it a rating on Spotify, because that's how the podcast will get discovered. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Take care, everybody, and I'll catch you on the next one.